Hello, you absolute legends. No, the title of this video is not clickbait. The biggest choke in speedrunning history recently happened, and it's one of the most heartbreaking things I have ever seen. In speedrunning, there have been quite a few epic chokes where players were on easy world record pace and then they fumbled right at the very end. But nothing, regardless of the game or the time period, comes close to what happened to Skycrab in Minecraft's random seed glitchless category. In order for a choke to be remembered through history, it needs to meet a couple of criteria. First, it usually needs to be a run that would have resulted in a new world record. And in Skycrab's case, his run was not only world record pace, but it was on the kind of pace that may have completely killed the category. To label this run as simply world record pace would be the understatement of a lifetime. This would have been the greatest Minecraft speedrun of all time, and in my opinion would have been a contender for the strongest world record we've ever seen in general. It would have beaten the existing world record by more than 40 seconds, which is unfathomable considering the world record was only 7 minutes long at the time. This would have been the run to end all runs, a run that may not have been beaten for many, many years. And a truly great choke also needs to happen for a reason that players almost never experience. And in Skycrab's case, I have never seen this happen to a top player on a good run. Not only did this choke happen for an outrageous reason, but Skycrab's run ended when he was merely waiting for the run to end. He was just standing there, doing nothing. He had played almost flawlessly, he had killed the dragon, and there was nothing left to do. The world record was all but his, and then he just died. Only a few seconds before the run should have ended. And when you find out the reason, you realize that not only was it completely avoidable, but it was pure insanity that it happened at all. I am really not joking when I say this is the most devastating thing I've ever seen in this hobby. It's the kind of choke that when you watch the run, every single time, for some illogical, futile reason, you hope and you pray that it's going to end differently. Even though you know that you're watching a replay that will simply never change. Today we will take a quick look at the biggest choke in speedrunning history, bar none. This is a sad video, but I still hope you try to enjoy it nonetheless. Now legends, today we are talking about the most heartbreaking speedrun of all time. So if you're feeling a little bit down afterwards and want to cheer yourself up with some lighthearted mobile gaming fun, definitely go ahead and play today's sponsor, Acecraft Sky Hero. Everything about this game is artistically beautiful. This shoot 'em up is obviously heavily inspired by the rubber hose animations of the 1930s, and it looks and sounds fantastic. But most importantly, as soon as I started playing it, I was having a blast. The mechanics of the game are extremely responsive, and I instantly felt like I had full control. My favorite mechanic is the absorb encounter, where you can suck in enemy projectiles and fire them back to cause major damage, which means you're not just shooting mindlessly the entire time. Each run only lasts 5 minutes or so and is perfect for casual play or when you're doing your business, if you know what I mean. And after each wave of enemies, you can choose from a vast array of roguelike skills to enhance your craft and create devastating weapon combinations. And you can even team up with a friend and play co-op in real time, just like the good old arcade days, which is awesome. Dodging, yelling, and clutching those last second counters, it's pure chaos and I love it. So yeah, if you're into gorgeous art and fast-paced action, you can download it right now for free. Let's fly together, laugh together, and play together in Acecraft Sky Hero. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code to download today, and join the fun with the Tom and Jerry crossover. As its name betrays, the random seed glitchless category in Minecraft relies upon a lot of luck factors to go well. You are playing random seeds, and in order for a run to be fast, the seed needs to cater to what a speedrunner needs. And in this case, Skycrab stumbled upon what is arguably the greatest seed a speedrunner has ever had the pleasure of running. And Skycrab isn't just any old speedrunner either. He is inarguably one of the greatest players in the world today, with his personal best placing in the top 5. To begin with, Skycrab's seed is already far outside the norm. The most popular meta currently is to look for a spawn on a shoreline. This way you can find a buried treasure which will give you iron and food, and then you can hopefully find a lava ravine in the surrounding waters to access the Nether. Skycrab instead spawns inland and next to a ruined portal and a village. In theory, villages can be very useful as they provide food and iron, but generally there isn't an easy way to enter the Nether unless you get extremely lucky and find a blacksmith that has enough obsidian to build a portal. So good runs that start near a village are incredibly rare. In fact, the last time there was a world record in this category that spawned next to a village was almost 4.5 years ago, when Brentilda got the very first sub 10-minute run. And since then, world records have exclusively relied upon shoreline spawns. What's interesting is that 4 years ago I made a video talking about what a perfect speedrun might look like. And in that video, the speedrunner Curryway and I theory-crafted that a village is probably the best structure to start next to, in theory. Spawning in or near a village is probably the most ideal situation. Villages offer food, beds, and an opportunity to get iron. There is a bit more luck involved here, but if a village has a weaponsmith with a chest, that chest can contain not only iron, but straight up give you an iron pickaxe. The chest can also contain other useful items like gold and obsidian, and both of these are essential to world record speedruns.
Villages can result in a respectable time for runners to enter the Nether by, but if you're lucky enough to get even just one blacksmith structure, it can shave an insane amount of time off of your run in various different segments. The best and by far most unique example of this is a run from a Chinese speedrunner named Plugin L. Plugin L opens his one blacksmith chest to find an unheard of 20 obsidian, which to this day is the most I've ever seen in my 8 years of playing this game, to give some perspective on just how rare that really is.
But in practice, villages just rarely ever work out. In Skycrab's case, he does get very lucky, and the village contains not one, but 3 blacksmiths, which provides him not only iron ingots and an iron pickaxe, but enough obsidian to build a portal. But the luck Skycrab got with the village alone isn't what makes this run so magical. It's what Skycrab found in the chest next to the ruined portal. In that chest was a sword that was enchanted with looting 3. This is basically the holy grail of random seed speedrunning, and the chance of getting a sword with looting 3 is around 1% in a ruined portal chest. This looting sword will become extremely important later on inside the Nether. For now, Skycrab just got hit with 2 winning lottery tickets, an enchanted sword with looting 3, and a village with iron and enough obsidian to enter the Nether, and he enters in just over a minute. This is already incredibly quick, and combined with the looting 3 sword, this could end up being something truly special. Inside the Nether, Skycrab needs to get lucky again. He needs to find both a bastion to trade for ender pearls and a fortress to kill blazes for blaze rods. And indeed, a bastion and fortress are located relatively close by. The bastion isn't as close as it could have been, but Skycrab masterfully navigates the terrain and manages to get there fairly quickly. Once again, Skycrab draws an ace, as there are 4 different bastion types, and this particular one is the most optimal when it comes to speedrunning. Inside one of the bastion chests, he finds enough obsidian to build 2 more nether portals, and once he has traded together enough ender pearls and string for beds, he heads to the nearby fortress. Skycrab's pearl to the fortress barely misses stable ground, and if it weren't for his world-class skills, this could have been disastrous. But he manages to save himself from falling all the way down into the lava, and navigates his way back up to the top. Now here is where the looting sword comes into play. Given that a blaze has a 50% chance of dropping a blaze rod when it's killed, and speedrunners generally leave when they gather 6 rods, in theory you would need at least 6 blazes and perfect luck to leave as quickly as possible. But the odds of getting a blaze rod 6 times in a row is 1 in 64, extremely low. So this segment can make or break a speedrun. In this case, with the looting 3 sword, which increases the amount of rods that blazes drop, Skycrab only needed to kill 3 blazes before he had enough rods to leave the Nether. Skycrab then builds a nether portal and heads back to the overworld with rods and pearls and everything he needs to finish. And he does it on a pace quicker than anyone else has ever done in the history of the game. He is already well ahead of world record pace. With the technology Minecraft speedrunners use these days, they are able to find the exact coordinates of the stronghold with a single pearl. So finding the stronghold and building the second nether portal from inside the nether to portal directly into the stronghold is now just standard practice. Speedrunners have also figured out how to find the end portal and navigate the stronghold quickly as well, and Skycrab enters the end at around 5 minutes and 26 seconds. This is 18 seconds quicker than the world record at the time, which was 7 minutes and 1 second held by the runner Drip. And in Drip's world record, he entered at 5 minutes and 43 seconds, which until Skycrab's run was still the fastest end enter ever. However, in the world record, Drip used an older strategy to kill the Ender Dragon called a one cycle. This is where you hope that the Ender Dragon perches quickly, where you can then kill it in one cycle before it perches. One cycles require a ton of luck to happen quickly, and not only that, but it's quite a bit slower than a newer strategy that has basically become standard practice at this point called a zero cycle. This is where you pearl to the top of a tower near the dragon and build up so you can kill it before it even decides to perch. Of course, it's much more difficult, but it is far quicker and removes a lot of the luck that was previously required. The zero cycle strategy turned what was once a giant lottery into something that was much more dependent on skill. So even though Skycrab was 18 seconds ahead of the world record heading into the end, he still had a ton more time to save if he successfully pulled off a zero cycle, which of course he did in amazing fashion. This requires nerves of steel. Skycrab surely knew that this run was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He has speedrun this game thousands upon thousands of times, and he had to be thinking that this was the run to end all runs. At the pace that Skycrab killed the dragon, the run should have ended at 6 minutes and 17 seconds, beating the world record by over 40 seconds. Forget about Minecraft. This would have been one of the greatest speedruns in the history of any game ever. And then, right before Skycrab was about to achieve glory, this happened.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Epic world record! Nej! Nej! Jag såg på den man! Jag såg på den!
Just 4 seconds before the run should have ended, Skycrab was killed by an Enderman. So how on earth did this happen? After throwing his first pearl after entering the end, while still in his inventory crafting nether bricks, Skycrab's cursor briefly hovers over an Enderman, provoking it. An Enderman will be provoked if you look at it for just a quarter of a second, or 15 frames at 60 frames per second. And in this case, Skycrab looked at this Enderman for exactly 15 frames. If he had looked at the Enderman for just a single frame less, history would certainly have been made. And if he had looked at the Enderman for longer, it's possible he may have noticed he did it. When towering up to zero cycle the dragon, you can even see the Enderman running towards the tower. But of course, because the zero cycle takes so much concentration, and because this run was so fast, this Enderman would have been the last thing on Skycrab's mind. The saddest part about this is that it's comically easy to avoid being killed by an Enderman if you know that the Enderman has been aggroed. Really, there were so many things that could have happened that would have changed everything. Of course, the most obvious is that Skycrab could have seen the Enderman coming, or at least built up while waiting for the end as a precaution. If you build up just 2 blocks, the Enderman can't hit you and you're safe. There is literally nothing else to do while waiting, so you may as well. Honestly, there is really no reason not to ever do this, and many players already do for this exact reason. Or if Skycrab had used a boat to float to the ground safely instead of pearling, he would have had enough health to survive one hit from the Enderman, giving him enough time to spin around and stay alive. And another crazy thing to consider is that if you die within a second or so of the exit portal activating, the game will still complete. So if Skycrab pearled down to the fountain just a couple of seconds later, there is a universe that exists where the Enderman killed him, but he still entered the portal and achieved the world record. And let's be honest, for the greatest Minecraft speedrun in history to have ended in that way would have been the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The fact that this is probably the greatest Minecraft speedrun ever, and it ended in one of the most easily avoidable ways I've ever seen, makes this by far the biggest choke in speedrunning history. It's really not even close. This is the type of run that will haunt a speedrunner for the rest of their life. It's entirely possible that Skycrab never gets a seed this favorable again in his entire career. And on one hand, it might seem harsh to call this the biggest choke of all time, and it might seem like I'm just rubbing salt in the wound, but I'm really not. The ultimate takeaway is that in my eyes, Skycrab pulled off the best Minecraft speedrun ever performed, regardless of how it ended. And while this speedrun might not show on the ranks, everyone who bears witness to it knows that it happened, and they know the real story. And despite failing, this speedrun really does deserve as much attention as it can get. I really think this speedrun would have lasted for a very, very long time. There hasn't been any major strategy development in this category for years, and yet Skycrab's run was still the only run that had entered the end faster than Drip's run all the way back in January of 2024, and it beat that split by a mile. On June 20th, just a week and a half after Skycrab's choke, the runner Loki did end up setting a new world record of 6 minutes and 50 seconds, breaking the 7-minute barrier for the first time. But Loki entered the end 30 seconds behind Skycrab's run. By looking at the fastest end enters ever, you can see just how far ahead Skycrab's run was. And if you know anything about statistics, you can immediately realize how strong this was. I don't know if Skycrab cried after this run, but for myself, I can say without embarrassment or shame that it brought me to tears. Speedrunning might seem silly to a lot of people, but those that love it will immediately empathize and understand how heartbreaking this must have been. To go from feeling like you've achieved immortality to being instantly smited out of nowhere by the worst luck you could possibly imagine must have been extremely painful. My heart goes out to Skycrab, and I hope that not only do people remember this run for what it was, but also for what it could have been. And I truly hope that Skycrab is able to make peace and move on in a positive way. It will be very interesting to see how long it takes for the world record to get down to what Skycrab's run should have been. Personally, I predict that it will take years to beat this 6-minute and 17-second mark, but let me know what your prediction is in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.